All right, we're going to check out this Winchester SXP Black Shadow today. This is a 20 gauge slug gun. As you can see there, 22-inch rifled barrel. I have not seen any videos on this thing yet, and just kind of popped up in my email for a great deal. Just couldn't pass it up. I've always wanted to play with a slug gun anyways. And these specifically, as you can see here, I got a whole bunch of them. I actually got more than you even see here. These Hornady SSTs, with this being a rifled barrel, ideally you shoot the sabot or sabot slugs through it, which we got here. It's either a 45 or 50 caliber, 50 grain, little ballistic tip there. And if it's 45 caliber, I believe that's the same bullet that I shoot through my 450 Bushmaster. Also the same bullet that I used to load up and deer hunt in with my muzzle loader with. But these things are supposed to be super accurate. And if you guys know about the Savage 220 slug gun, that's what they use. Guys use these and the Remington variant and shoot out 200 yards, no problem. I think with these, you're supposed to be able to get about a 2-inch group at 100 yards. So, I think in this initial review video here, we're just going to be using the iron sights because, you know, maybe a lot of people, that's how they're going to hunt with it. And most people that hunt with shotgun, they just use irons anyways because, you know, shotgun's usually pretty close range affair. But these bullets with the sabots, the sabots there, they really let you stretch the limits. But yeah, that 220 slug gun, I don't even think they make a 12 gauge version. They may have, maybe it's called the 212. It might have been discontinued. I can't remember, but I believe the 20 gauge version, although not as powerful, is more accurate. But anyways, SXP 20 gauge slug gun with the rifled barrel there. We got the rifle sights, and we're going to put it through the paces today, see what kind of groups we can get down to at least 50 yards, shoot some steel at least 100 yards. Later on, I have more slugs coming, including those Remington I mentioned. You can see she is tapped there for a scope base, so eventually I will be doing a ammo shootout video to see which one it likes the most. So we'll be doing groups and whatnot, and then once I have that scope on there, we'll see how far I can reach out there. And for those that are interested, if you think 100 yards is too far for a 20 gauge on deer, these are still like 1,200 foot-pounds of energy at 100 yards, which it doesn't show that on here, but if you do the calculations, 1,200 foot-pounds still of energy at 100 yards, or around 1,000 or something like that. I'll throw it up on the screen. A lot of people have that 1,000 foot-pound rule of thumb when it comes to white-tailed deer, and out at 100 yards, these still meet that, I wouldn't say requirement, but a lot of people live by that. It's got to have at least 1,000 foot-pounds of energy at your impact. But there's a little quick ballistics chart. We'll go over this more in the ammo test, but just to give you an idea of what I'm working with here today. 250 grain, like I said, 1,800 feet a second, and there you can see the trajectory they're giving you. Now I'm more interested in performance, but there's a few neat little features about this. They claim it's got a chrome-lined, black chrome-lined barrel in action. It's got a 4-lug bolt there that's rotating. It's got an inertia-assisted pump, so it's supposed to be like the fastest pump out there. I mean, all shotguns kind of do that, I've noticed. I've always hated take a shot with a 12 gauge pump like a Mossberg 500 or a Rim 870, and then the pump comes back halfway. But apparently this one is designed to do that intentionally, and then some, to help you pump it quick there for follow-up shots, which I've never been a guy that needs more than one shot for deer, but I guess if you need a follow-up shot real quick, it's going to help you out there. Initial impressions of this rifle, it's super lightweight, and, you know, being that synthetic stock and everything, as soon as I picked it up, I was like, man, this feels a lot like one of those cheap Turkish import shotguns. And as it turns out, I'm kind of right, because knocking the box off in the mud there, as you can see there, made by Istanbul, Sila, whatever the heck this says, Turkey, imported. So it is a Turkish shotgun, and then they just slap the Winchester name on it and try to charge you twice as much. Now, like I said, it's got a few neat little upgraded features like the chrome lining and the inertia assist pump and the 4-lug rotating bolt and all that. And another feature there is this oversized trigger guard there. So, you know, if you're hunting out in the winter, big gloves and everything, you could still get your finger in there, no problem. But it is definitely a Turkish imported shotgun, and Winchester just slaps their name on it. So yeah, it feels very much like one of those cheap Turkish guns when you pick it up, but it does have a little extra doodads here and there to make it a little nicer. And I don't even know, I haven't really seen any of those Turkish shotguns come with just a rifled barrel, so that's something that difficult to come by. But yeah, this thing is straight up a Turkish import. It feels a little nicer. I have a few and have reviewed even more of the Turkish shotguns. It feels a little nicer, but that was my initial impression. As soon as I picked it up, I was like, man, Winchester, this feels like one of those cheap Turkish guns. And turns out it is, kind of. I was going to try to show you the sights real quick, but on that note, I've noticed, I don't know why, I don't know if it's like a legality thing or what, but the Turkish shotguns, they only ever hold 4 in the tube, even though it's a full-size shotgun, whereas, you know, your American ones like the Mossberg and, you know, Rim 870s, they always hold 5 or more. And the Turks, they always hold 4 in the tube for some reason. And this one's the same. It only holds 4 in the tube. So I'm not sure why, but oddly, literally every other time I can get 5 in it. And every other time other than that time, I can only get 4 in it. But it's only advertised to hold 4. But for some weird reason, I can get 5 in it every other time. And speaking of the tube, it comes with a plug that only allows you to get 2 in the tube and 1 in the chamber, so you can be legal in the states where they require you to be plugged, where your shotgun can only hold 3 rounds. So it does come with that, which I have removed it for this video, but I was going to try to show you the sights. So it's got True Glow fiber optic front and rear. You can see there, obviously, it's fully adjustable there for your elevation. And that side screw, the top one's so you can slide it up the ramp, but the side screw there is for your windage. You can see you got marks on there. So fully adjustable sights, fiber optic, they glow there. And I don't know how well I can get that. Yeah, I can't get low enough with my camera, but I mean, you get the gist there. You put the little orange one between the green ones, and that's how you aim with it there. So I do like the sights on this a lot. So, but I think that's enough rambling on there. Let's get this guy down the rifle range and see how she does. All right, so we get started here. Got a target there, down there at 25 yards. There's a couple 22 and 30 caliber holes in it already, but we'll definitely be able to tell the difference with these big old guys here. By the way, for the first pump, if the trigger's not already been pulled, you got to pull this little lever back here so that you can pump it. I'm not the biggest fan of that. It's real round and, man, if I could keep it in the camera, that would help, huh? It's real round and smooth and kind of hard to catch your thumb on, but I'm getting used to it. So not my favorite mechanism. I prefer the trigger type on the Mossberg, and I can't remember how a Remington works, but not my favorite there. But that's how you'll get it to go on the first pump. Of course, if you pull the trigger, whether you dry fire or fire an actual round after that, it'll keep pumping each time without having to press that lever if you've already dropped the firing pin. But let me get my ears on here. We'll just go center mass, see where she's impacted. Now take a look at the pump here. This is that inertia pump thing in action here. It literally shoots the pump out of my hand, and it does this every single time. So you don't have to pump it back. You just slide it forward after each shot and you're good to go. So it cuts your pump time in half, if not more. And it's just resting on my hand here. I'm sure if you were like taking a standing or kneeling shot or whatever and you're actually gripping the pump, it would probably just come back with your hand. It's only doing this because I was just resting it on top of my hand. Hopefully she's on the paper there. Whoa. Yeah, hey, how about that? Right in the bullseye. So the two smaller ones that are lower in the bullseye there are previous 30 caliber holes. So our slug went right there in the bullseye, 25 yards. That's crazy. She's ready to go right out of the box. Now I was having a difficult time at the pistol bay trying to show you guys these sights here. See if I can do a little better job here. Probably still not going to be great. Because I can't get it to fit. Hey, that's not too bad. I was going to say, that's about what she looks like. I mean, it's a little blurry and whatnot. It looks a little different than the naked eye, but your front orange sight down there is about half the size of that 16-inch gong at 100. So, you know, these will definitely get the job done on a deer down at 100 yards. You ain't got a big fat brass bead on there that covers the whole stinking deer. So, let's see, what do we do? I did a 6 o'clock hold on that, so it put it right in the bullseye. So I'm thinking if we cover that at 100, it's going to hit it. But I'm going to start out with a 6 o'clock hold. So let's go ahead and reach out to my gong there. 100 yards, I'll do a 6 o'clock hold. So that means I'm putting the orange bead on the front under the very bottom edge of that target and see what happens. If she goes low, then we'll just cover the target with the bead. And we're going to start out zoomed in here. So in case I miss there and it does go low or left or right or whatever, we can review the footage, or I can review the footage and see that. So here we go. We'll see if that 6 o'clock hold puts us on target there, or if we got a cover. All right, looks like we're averaging low left. I think the one missed low left. So I'll bring it up just a tad higher. Of course, I can adjust it however I want because they're fully adjustable. We'll need to do that some. We'll go ahead and get 2 zoomed out for you here real quick. And I'm noticing every time I shoot it, the pump's already back. I mean, being on the bag can probably affect that a little bit. But the pump's already all the way rearward after each shot. I pulled that last one trying to show off and go too fast, but yeah, buddy, is she a deer slayer. Now I really want to get this thing 100%, so I'm going to move the target out a little bit here, and we'll try to actually get this thing perfectly zeroed. And I guess it'll give us an attempt at a little group there to see how she patterns those slugs. Alright, I want to show you guys the trigger real quick before we get started down there. Now, she's no Temney trigger, but actually a pretty decent trigger for a shotgun. There's a little bit of play and creep if you really look for it, but you got to like intentionally be looking for it. So there's your take up, just a little bit. Okay, and we'll pull through now. I'm trying to get a better angle for you guys. There's the play. Yeah, so you got a little bit of play. You can almost stage it like that. And let's see if I can get a trigger weight for you. Feels like about, I don't know, 6 something to me, maybe. Really? I'm gonna have to try that a few times. It ain't that light. Well, we got 415 on that one. Maybe it is. So I'm going to give it, you know, call it a good 5-pound trigger. Maybe it's a hair less than that. Yeah, it depends on how fast you pull it. So I'm pulling it faster with the trigger gauge than when I was trying to show you guys creep. So trying to show you creep, it feels heavier. But if I just pull through, then it feels a little bit lighter. So, and that's kind of what I was doing with the trigger gauge. So between a 5 and 6 pound trigger, I would say, I mean, if you just nice quick pull, you're getting like in the 4s there. But sounds odd to say. I've never said that about a trigger before, but yeah, I pull on it slow and it definitely is heavier than if I just pull through her there. All right, I walked her down the 50 year down there. So, you know, there's our previous shots. Like I said, 22 30 cal holes, and we just got that one slug in the top of the oval. So we'll do a group down here and see what she's actually doing for us. And I'm just gonna hold, I'm not the best with iron sights, so I'm just gonna hold 6 o'clock on that oval still, and we'll see where we print the next 3. Alright, what'd I do down here? Okay, yeah, not too bad considering I suck on irons there. So we got 1, 2, 3, and it does seem like it's averaging a little left. I mean, just that one's off to the left, so that could just be me. So, I mean, she's dead on there at 50. I don't know if you noticed, I went ahead and moved that gong down there at 150 yards. It is laser rangefinder confirmed. Link in the description if you guys are looking for a good budget rangefinder. Been using this one for years, about 50-60 bucks. This thing's awesome. So we send some down here at 150, and I already looked at the sights, and now at 150 that bead on the front is appearing the same size as the target. And I know we're going to get some drop out there, especially since we're dead on at 50. So I guess I'm just gonna, at least for now, I'm just gonna cover it with the bead. So let's see how viable 150 yard shots are this with just the iron sights. Honestly, I'm comfortable out to, like, you know, 100 with those irons, but let's see if I can stretch it 150 here. Now I might need to adjust them to where I can hold 6 o'clock on this, and, you know, I can raise them up higher. That way I can actually see the target. But I'm going to try just covering it here, because similar to a hunting scenario, you know, if you got it zeroed at 50 like we do there, and you're also set up pretty good for 100-yard shots, you know, you're anticipating shots between, you know, anything inside of 100 yards, and then all of a sudden something walks out there 150 a little further than what you expected. With that zero, can you cover it up with the bead and still hit her? So that's what I'm going to attempt here. But ideally for these shots, you'd want to raise your sight up on that ramp. That way you can aim 6 o'clock on it and hit dead center and still see the target that way. Kind of hard to see this shot, but it literally just barely skimmed the bottom edge and impacted my hook. It didn't shoot it in half, but it nicked it enough to put a bend in it so the target falls over. Hey, all right, there you go. It looks like I flung one off to the edge there, but I mean, like I said, it's kind of hard to, you know, deer's bigger than that, but that is 16 inch, so that's pretty much the vital zone on a good sized whitetail there. Now I'm covering it and then it disappears, and so after I cover it, I'm like, man, I hope I'm holding steady enough to where we're still centered on the target and all that before, you know, I slowly pull through the trigger until it breaks. But there's 4 out of 5. I chucked one of them. But yeah, I think that's pretty viable. Like I said, if you really wanted to make 150-yard shots all day with those iron sights, you're going to want to raise it up that ramp some. That way you can actually put that gong on top of your bead there so you can see it instead of covering it like I just did. But I was able to cover it there and still get you know, pretty reliable hits down there at 150 yards, even though I couldn't see the target because I was covering it with that front bead. So excluding that one shot that I completely biffed, this is about an 8 to 9 inch up and down string here, which again, I'm completely covering the target with the front bead. So obviously less than ideal conditions. Again, other than that one I biffed, there's hardly any variation from left to right, which probably means that I held it pretty steady as far as the windage goes. I was probably just varying my elevation, which actually makes perfect sense because I was covering the target and couldn't see it, so I couldn't tell if I was holding a few inches lower or a few inches higher than the previous shot from shot to shot. So considering I printed this down here, all things considered, with the iron sights completely covering the target and not being able to see the target whatsoever as I pulled the trigger to make those shots, I think that bodes well for the accuracy that you could expect to get if I had a scope up on there and could actually see the target. And I'm way better with a scope than I am with iron sights. But I think that does it for today. I mean, she's a shooter, man. I am absolutely stoked. Obviously, it loves these SSTs, so no problem there if that's the slugs you want to run. Like I said, I got some more on the way, including but not limited to the Winchester variant that is very popular, and we'll see how those shoot. And I'm gonna have a I don't know if it was supposed to come with the mounts or not, or if you got to get them separate, but mine did not come with the mounts even though it's tapped. So I'm gonna get the mount and get a scope up on there, and we'll be doing a slug shootout once I get all those other ones. They're all sabos, sabot, however you want to say it too, and we'll see which ones it groups the best. But then we'll be going longer range, 200 250 yards once I get that scope up on there. And some of you might scoff at that. Like I said earlier in the video, she's still got 1,000 foot-pounds of energy, and I'd had some stats up on the screen and whatnot. But you still got 1,000 foot-pounds of energy at 100 yards, which is the golden rule of thumb that a lot of people like to follow. I don't really follow that, but so down there at 150, probably still not too bad. You're probably still 800 or 900 foot-pounds of energy. I'll have to run it through my ballistics calculator to see for sure what you got at 150. So, you know, I think most people are probably going to say, you know, 200 is completely out of the realm, unethical, inhumane, whatever. But she still got a decent punch out there at 200 yards. And like I said, it's funny that they even advertise those slugs as, you know, being accurate out to 200 yards, almost as if to suggest you could harvest a deer at 200 yards. I mean, if you make a clean enough shot, you definitely could. Because at 200, and again, I'd have to run the stats, and might have that up here, or it might be in the upcoming videos when we're actually taking those 200-yard shots. But out at 200 yards, it's probably going to be, you know, kind of like 45 super power level, you know, like 600 foot-pounds of energy or something like that with that 45 caliber or 50 caliber slug. Again, I can't remember whether it's 45 or 50, but I mean, she still get her done out there at 200 if you're a competent enough marksman, which obviously there would have to be no wind like today and all that. But I'm not personally advocating use it for 200 yards for deer. I'm comfortable in saying, yeah, 150. I think it's still got enough knockdown power for 150. Beyond that, especially if you don't make a great shot, not so much. But we're still going to do that coming up with the scope. And then multiple slug shootout, like I said, so stay tuned for that. If any of the products you guys see me using the videos, a shooting bag there, earmuffs, safety glasses, rangefinder, paper target stand, targets I use, steel targets, and way more. Links in the description for all that. And for few products I cannot link to on here, check out my campsite page, which is also linked in the description of this video and on my bio or /about section. For those of you who made it to the end of the video, I really appreciate it. I got a little bit more information for you. First of all, I forgot to mention earlier in the video the weight. So it comes in just over 6.5 pounds, but handling it, it feels a lot lighter. But it turns out it's basically center balance. The balance point is literally just a few millimeters up from the very back of the pump. So probably due to that balance, it feels a lot lighter than it actually is. And also, just one more quick note, I'm used to shooting slugs through smoothbore barrels. Usually after a few shots, the plastic starts to like gunk up the barrel, and it's a real nightmare to get that crap out. Plus, I've seen a lot of people say the accuracy goes downhill after 3 shots due to this. After all these shots today, there is no plastic fouling in this rifled barrel whatsoever. Still squeaky clean and shiny, so maybe that's that black chrome lining they have in there, so that's awesome. But thanks for stopping by and checking this one out today, guys. Leave me a comment down below, let me know what you think. I love it. She's a performer. Can't wait to get the scope on there. Catch you guys on the next one.